Hello and welcome back to the Flagrant Foul Fridays podcast. I'm your host, Christian, and with me today is my co-host, Nick.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back.
So today is a kind of unique special episode in that it directly kind of goes along with one of our segments today. That is the January Sumo tournament that is happening in Japan currently. So if you didn't catch our episode on sumo history, I think that was the episode called uh, Underrated Sports, right, Nick?
I believe so.
So I would recommend checking out that episode if you want a little bit more context behind the sport of sumo. But with that in mind, I will give a brief introduction. It is a 15-day tournament, and this is specifically the top division. There is other divisions like high school and stuff, but that's just what we watched. And currently we are on day 4 with day 5 happening pretty soon because of the time zone difference, actually. Um, but yeah, me and Nick are both caught up, and I took some notes down. Nick, I don't know if he took as much notes as me, but he definitely has thoughts nonetheless. And to kind of go back to that other episode that I was talking about, the reason we're doing this is because we wanted to see what it looks like when you kind of go out of your comfort zone and try something new. So even if you don't care about sumo, I think you can learn from Nick's experience from this. You have anything to add?
Uber was definitely something different to try, and it wouldn't be a bad idea if you were interested in wanting to watch something new.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's get right into our special segment, which is Nick's thoughts on sumo. So I'll let Nick take it away and I'll chime in as needed.
Well, my first initial thoughts on sumo is why am I watching a bunch of guys' butts jiggle on the screen? Someone's gonna think I'm gay watching this stuff. That was my first like 10 minutes initial thought while watching. That's all I could think about. I wasn't even worried about the matches. I was like, somebody's gonna think I'm gay watching this.
Hey, if it makes you feel better, I was watching this like in like a there was like a big glass wall behind me where people are like studying and stuff. So so
I will say it's an interesting sport to watch. A lot of different moves and stuff. A lot to learn about the sport that I don't know yet. I did find out um, how somewhat how the rankings work because Christian kind of told me. And I guess we can get right into it. We could talk about who our favorite sumo wrestlers are and stuff.
yeah. So one thing I want to note about the rankings is after the tournament ends, for the most part, if they're in the Mega Shira group at least, which is the numbered group, they will go up or down equal to the difference in their record. So for example, if they go 10 and 5, that is a difference of 5, so they should go up 5 spots, right? If they go 5 and 10, that is also a difference of 5, but they would go down 5 spots. Now, this is like a general rule of thumb. There is a like judge committee. So sometimes they look at like head-to-head matchups, if you won against really good people, if you were injured, etc. So that's not always the case. Sometimes we see them go up more or less than they should, or down more or less than they should. Sometimes they stay the same. But with that being said, once they get to the higher ranks, such as Komusubi, Sekiwake, and Ozeki, there's much higher requirements to make it to the next rank, such as like having to win a tournament or having to have multiple winning records in a row, that sort of thing. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to add that. So now, yeah, let's talk about our favorite wrestlers. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay, so some of my favorites are Ura. He's known as the pink guy, I guess, because he's like the only one that wears a pink mawashi, I think it's called. That's like the It's not a diaper, but that's what Americans would call it. Um, yeah, I think he's the only one that wears a pink one of those. So that's kind of one of the reasons I got drawn to him. He kind of stood out, but also he's kind of short. He's kind of built like a cannonball is the best way I can describe him. And he's known for being very kind of sporadic and unpredictable. He wins with a lot of different methods, and he's very like on the fly thinking. That's kind of his downfall as well as his best features. Like he'll have some crazy upsets, and then sometimes he'll just do really bad against people that he should win against. But I think almost every one of his fights is always interesting to watch. Another one that I really like is Anishki. He is Ukrainian and one of the best young rising stars. People think that he's almost guaranteed to make Yokozuna, which is the top rank, probably within a year or two, is what most people think. Um, I really like his style. I like his story, like moving from Ukraine after the war and everything. And he did sumo while in Ukraine, but he moved to Japan. Bro, you're kidding. uh, I'm gonna stop the recording and then we'll continue later.
Okay.
So if you heard that in the background, I don't know if you did. My dorm just had the fire alarm go off. Apparently, someone doesn't know how to cook a pizza. It was not my room, though, so let that be known. It was not my fault or my roommate's fault. But we're back now, and we're going to continue our sumo discussion. So I think we were talking about favorite sumos. So I said Ura. I'm not quite sure how to actually pronounce his name. I think it's Ura or Ura. Aonishiki. And then I have a couple others that I kind of like Oho. He's pretty decent. Abi, I like Abi. He's pretty good. And my favorite Yokozuna, which is the highest rank, is Onosato. Although Hoshoryu is pretty good too. I just personally like Onosato and his style a bit better. All right, Nick, what about you? You got any favorites so far?
So far, I started to like Anishki mainly because he's different than the rest. Like you said, he's
Is it because he's
Ukrainian.
white?
No, because he's not Japanese. He's Ukrainian.
Well, there's some other non-Japanese people, like there's some Mongolians, there's some
Oh,
uh other things.
because he's Ukrainian. I don't know.
I'm just giving you a hard
He is
time.
different though.
He's one of the most popular right now, so that's no surprise that he kind of stood out to you.
Um, Another one that stood out to me was Abi because in the previous, I think it goes by 6 tournaments. It shows back. He hadn't won a single tournament, and they were all red. I assume that means he was below 500 for wins.
Yeah.
And now he's 4-0, so kind of an underdog, and he's undefeated right now. So that's why I started liking him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to note with the records is um who they get matched up with during the tournament can change based on how good they're doing. So I don't remember off the top of my head who his wins have been against, but he might have been playing low ranked people at the start, and his record might start to go down as he kind of plays higher ranks. But I agree. I think he's had a great tournament so far, and I think we're going to talk about that a bit. Um, but yeah, on the opposite end, Ura, one of my favorites, is 0 and 4, but he has played. Actually, I'll talk about this more later, but he's been playing like high ranks only, so he's kind of had a rough schedule from the start. But hopefully that will get a little easier as it goes on. But you have to kind of wonder if that affects like their mentality for the rest of the tournament. Like, I don't know, would you rather face the hard opponents first, get them out of the way, or would you rather kind of work your way up to it?
I'd say maybe in the middle. Like
Yeah.
play opponents leading you up to the hard opponents, then you have an easier end of schedule.
Yeah, and the only opponent that is like set in stone ahead of time is the very first day because they know about that like weeks in advance. Everything else comes like the night before the next day, you know. So it's tough to prep too, I'm sure. That's why certain people have very bad records against specific fighters, even though they themselves might be pretty high ranked, you know. Do you have anything else to add about your thoughts or anything?
Uh, not really. Um, who is that guy? I forgot his name already again. That other guy that I thought was pretty good, and then that first day when he had like a 2 second match, was it
Oh,
Oshumi or whatever?
I'm not sure.
No, it was Hiradumi. I don't know how to say his name. He's 2-2.
Yeah,
His first match was a two
Hiradumi.
second match.
Yeah, I mean, some matches are shorter than others. I believe the average time of a match is like 6 seconds. So, but that's something I kind of like about sumo is that some matches last longer than others. Some are very quick, but they feel kind of high impact, you know?
Yeah.
It's very similar to like an O line versus a D lineman off the line sort of battle, you know? Okay, so now we're gonna go through some of my notes about each day. Obviously, if you're not familiar with sumo, you probably won't know some of these names, but I'll try my best to explain them. At the very least, we'll cover some kind of interesting things that happened. I learned actually a lot this tournament. There was two new rules that I um, learned about just from this tournament alone. So yeah. So day one is what we're gonna start with. So day one, I thought that Daisho looked really great. He had a good last tournament, and so I was predicting that he was going to be someone to watch. And we'll see that as the days went on, my prediction wasn't quite accurate. Well, who knows? Maybe he could turn it around. Then I have Hakuno Fuji had a really crazy first fight. He hung on by a thread at the line, and then he threw his opponent out the ring to win, which is that's always some of my favorite types of fights where the guy that seemingly is losing last second does some sort of crazy maneuver or throw or a sidestep to, you know, win. And then lastly, we got Ura versus Onishiki. I thought that was a very fun fight. Two of my favorite wrestlers going up against each other day one. Not much better than that. Unfortunately, both could not win. I guess it can end in a tie, but it's only really if the fight goes on for so long that the judge deems that they're like not even really trying anymore, you know? I've never seen it happen personally, but I haven't watched a ton of
Yeah, I've never
sumo.
seen it happen
You
either.
you watched 4 days, but yeah. Um, and then my fight of the day, I think was Hakuno Fuji versus Oho. So if you guys get the chance, look up the January 2026 tournament. And if you're going to watch any fight for day one, I recommend Hakuno Fuji versus Oho. And then, do you have anything to add about that day?
Like I said, that was the day that, however you say his name, Hiradumi,
Yep, here, do me.
had his 2 second match, but that's about all.
Do you like when the matches are short?
Well, he basically just plowed his guy.
Powerhouse, yeah. Yeah, that's another thing about sumo, like, with the different ways of winning, you kinda get a good variety of things, like, it's fun to watch them just plow through them and win in 2 seconds. Sometimes it's fun to watch them flip them. Sometimes it's fun to watch, like, 2 400-pound guys fight for, like, a minute, and just, like, you can tell they're gassed, but they're giving it everything they got despite, you know, being tired.
Yeah, when I watched that fight, I was kind of watching them all, and I was like, well, that guy, he's probably a middle of the class guy. And then when it got to that fight, I was like, oh, this guy's definitely the best guy. Just powerhouse the other one, and then he's like 2-2 now.
Yeah. Well, and, like, I don't know if you've noticed, when they, like, come off the line, they're, like, coming very hard.
slapping each other in the face.
They're like, yeah, sometimes they break their nose because they're hitting each other in the heads and stuff. So it's fun. It's fun to watch. All right, moving on to day two. Coming off of a losing tournament, Shishi, which is the other Ukrainian fighter currently in the top division, he won, and so he was 2-0 by day two. And I thought he had a very impressive throw to be a Sakoryu. And Shishi is kind of a hot topic right now to some extent because Anishki, his younger Ukrainian brother, well, not actual brother, as far as I know, um, is doing better than him despite being younger. And I believe Shishi's only like 26, 27 maybe, so like he easily could still, achieve a very high rank. So people are pointing out that he's probably very frustrated at feeling kind of left behind, I'm sure they probably even trained together. So, yeah, that's probably got to be tough. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to see him win this tournament after not having a good tournament. In what, November was the last one?
Yep, November.
What's he right now? Oh, 3-1.
Yeah,
So
he's 3 and
he's
1
not
right
doing too
now.
bad.
And his one loss, I think, was pretty close from what I remember. So, we'll see once he gets towards those higher ranked opponents if he can keep it up. Again, this is all assuming they stay healthy. Sumo injuries are very common. All right, next we got Abi. He had a dominant win over Tobizaru in day two, and I thought it was really funny how he won. He basically just grabbed the back of his belt and just threw him out the ring, kind of like a mom would throw a child into the snow if they're misbehaving or something. Is that
Into
I
the
don't that's
snow.
a weird mental picture, but that's like how I remember it. Like, do you remember watching that?
I think there was a couple of them like that where
There
they,
was a couple. This one was specifically where he grabbed the back of the belt and just like swung him
yeah,
out.
yeah, I do remember one like that. So it probably was that fight.
Yeah, I just thought it was really funny. Next we got Fujinokawa versus Hiradumi. It was a very short fight, but I thought it was great. This is similar to what Nick was talking about, how Fujinokawa won just from pure power off the line. Uh, the next, I noted that Daiyusho lost, so he was then 1-1. However, uh, that he lost to a guy that he was 0-6 again, or I guess 0-5, but now he's 0-6. So I was kind of like, maybe that doesn't mean a ton. Maybe he just isn't good against that guy. And I thought it was rather close. So at this point in time, I was thinking Daishio's probably still one to watch for this tournament. But as we're about to find out on day three and four, he kind of proved me wrong. Next, we got Hakuno Fuji. Uh, he had 5 winning tournaments in a row until November, where he went 6-9. I don't know if he was injured. He probably was. Um, but in this tournament, up to this point, he was 2-0. And he had a great win over Wakamoto Haru. This is also his first win against him, so now he's 1-3. Also, Hakuno Fuji is only 22 years old, so he's definitely a young guy to keep an eye on. And then Aonishiki got his first ever win against Yoshino Fuji. Uh, Now he's 1-3 against him all time, but it was a very close match, and this is actually where the first new rule that I learned about happened. So this rule is called the dead body rule. And essentially what it is a way to prevent a technicality from overturning like a decisive, obvious win. So in the event that your opponent is like falling or off balance and has like basically no way of like countering or preventing themselves from losing, but like you in the process step out or like hit the ground first, they're not going to count that against you. This is most seen in like throws because, for example, if you throw your opponent, there's like, especially if you like flip them over your body, there's no way of them like preventing that because they're in the air at that point. So if you like accidentally touch the ground to like catch yourself or something, because it is dangerous if you don't catch yourself. they will sometimes rule that as a dead body rule, and you will get the win, even though technically you went out first. So I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that that rule existed. I think it makes sense. What do you think?
I don't know because how does I I guess it doesn't make sense to me how if you went out first you don't lose.
Yeah. Well, it's like in the event, like I said, that your opponent is like clearly losing, and it's not just a simple like you both are going out at the same time. It has to be like your opponent is like falling
Like
or
you
like
forced him out or
yeah,
something.
like from some sort of throw or something, but it doesn't have to be a throw. Um, but yeah, if you actually watch that replay, you'll see why it is because they're both falling, but Aonishiki deliberately like flipped the guy. So even though Aonishiki was falling and his hand touched first, the other guy was like effectively dead in the air, is what they called it. So the judges had to stop and talk about it, and I think they're a bit more lenient in sumo with like video replay, even with timing. Sometimes they will like rematch if they hit, at roughly the same time. They're not as strict as like a NFL like toe tap kind of rule. So, yeah.
I think they ruled Anishiki the winner initially anyway,
Um,
and then they
I
reviewed
think they
it.
did. I think they did. I don't know if that is part of it. I don't know if like in the NFL you have to have like clear evidence to overturn what was called. But yeah, he was initially the winner anyways. So, yeah. My fight of the day for day two was Abi versus Tobizaru. Moving on to day three, uh, Asahakuryu uh, won with a sidestep. So at the start of the match, he basically just stepped to the side, and then Ryuden just kind of went right by him. That's always one of the fun ways to win. Although it's actually pretty criticized in Japan, from what I've heard, because they kind of find it like disrespectful, I guess. Which I understand, I guess. But it is fun to watch, I would say. All right, then Shishi went on to beat Tobizaru. So he's now 3-0 at that point. So that was great. And then Abi had a great fight against Nishiki Fuji. Abi was 3-0 at this point. It was a close match, but I think Abi showed resilience in it. Then we got Takayasu, who is known as Papa Bear because he is like very hairy. And I think he's in his late 30s, maybe mid 30s. Um, but anyways, he fought Daisho, and it was an amazing fight. It was just like an all-out brawl, like swinging hands, smacking each other. Had lots of endurance and like quick thinking. But yeah, he won, so he was 2-1 after that match, and then Daisho got his second loss. So my prediction about him was kind of breaking down pretty fast. Then we got Kirishima versus Hakuno Fuji. They fought, but after judge's decision, they had to rematch each other. Uh, so after a short rest, they basically had to fight again. This is because the judges ruled that they went out at the same time. And this is yet another rule that I did not know existed. But after that, Kirishima went on to win, so he was 3-0. Then Aonishiki uh, beat Ichi Yamamoto to go on to be 3-0 as well. I thought at this point, I honestly was thinking he might go 4-0, 5-0, who knows? I thought the sky was the limit. I thought he was looking great. Uh, then we got Ura versus Onosato. They also had a rematch after a judge's decision. So this rematch rule that I didn't know existed happened twice in the same day. Um, And Ura was 0-6 going into this matchup. And mind you, Onosato is the highest rank. So I think the fact that he almost won was a pretty big deal. Unfortunately, he did lose in the rematch. So Ura was 0-3 and Onosato was 3-0. And then Hoshoryu was the first of the two Yokozuna to have a loss in the tournament after Yoshino Fuji defeated him on day three. So I think day three was a rather exciting day. If you're gonna watch any one day from this January tournament, day three is probably my pick so far. My fight of the day was Takayasu versus Daisho. Do you have anything to add, Nick?
Really?
Okay. Then we will move on to day four, which is the last day as of this recording. So the first match of the day was amazing. Uh, Ryuden almost won from the start, but then he won later on. Or no, then he almost
No, you
won
didn't.
later on. But he was flipped around last second. They both fell out the ring, and Oshumi won. So now he's 3-1. Ryuden is 1-3. So that was a pretty big match for both of them, I feel like. And then Shishi got his first loss of the tournament. I do think he might bounce back a bit. At least I hope so. Then Midori Fuji got his first win of the tournament after a close fight, and Abi had a quick but impressive win against Hitaki Komi. He is now 4-0, so I definitely think he's one to watch, at least in terms of the lower ranks. I don't know if he's going to win the tournament, but I definitely think he will probably have a winning record this tournament if he stays healthy. And Oshoma is also 4-0 after beating Hiradumi. So, yeah. Next we got just kind of a fun fact that I learned as I was watching the broadcast. Tamawashi is 41 years old, and he holds the record for the most consecutive bouts, which means like fights, I guess. And he has 1,752 in a row and counting. And second place has 1,630, and I think that guy's retired, so he's like not at risk of necessarily losing this record at the moment. I don't know about you, Nick, but I think that's a pretty crazy stat.
Hmm. So is that only achievable? Like, so he hasn't missed any tournaments. That means he has played every single match of every single tournament.
Yep, and I think if his opponent concedes because he's injured, I don't know if that counts as the total number, but it doesn't stop his streak, obviously. But yeah, I would compare this to like LeBron James in terms of longevity and having like a long record, you know? But yeah, we'll have to see what the record ends up being. It's crazy
That's
to
a
think,
hundred. That's almost 117 tournaments.
really. 15 a day or 15 a tournament?
It says 116.8 when I did the math for 50 tournament matches.
Wow.
How many tournaments you say is a year?
6. It's
6.
every 2 months, but
So almost 20 years.
every in between month they sometimes go to like London, England and other places to do like sort of mini tournaments where they're not really necessarily trying. It's almost like a WWE match where they're kind of doing fun things for the crowd, you know?
So just about 20 years consecutively.
Yeah, which is insane. And the fact that he's 41 with how much like joint and back pain sumo wrestlers often have, that is just insane that he's lasting this long.
So you also said you can't or you can't go lower than Yokozuna. So he's never been a Yokozuna
I can look what his highest rank is.
because he's
Um,
currently M5, Magashira 5.
yes, he's currently Mega Shira 5. Um, which isn't terrible. It's like the upper ranks of like the kind of lowest tier 1 people, I guess. He's also from Mongolia. That was one of the other non-Japanese guys. His highest rank was Sekiwake, which
So two
is,
below.
yeah, 2 below Yokozuna. So that's actually pretty good. I would say that's nothing to be ashamed of. But yeah, very long career. Next we got Daisha losing to Tamawashi, who we just talked about. So he's now 1-3. So my prediction is probably going to be wrong about him being good this tournament. Next, I wanted to point out that Atami Guji is the heaviest wrestler in this tournament, and he is 430 pounds. He had a pretty good fight against Chirinomi on day 4, so he's now 2-2. Actually, both of them are. Next, we got Kirishima beating Waka Mataharu to go 4-0 this tournament. And then Kodazakura takes his first loss to an 0-3 Ichi Yamamoto after a close fight. Uh, really what happened was he kind of stepped out as he was throwing his opponent. He probably would have won if he just focused on where his foot was going to be. So yeah, he's 3-1 now. And then Anishki got his first loss to an 0-3 opponent as well, which was Oho. Mind you, Oho is way bigger than Anishki, so he kind of just got outpowered, outsized, but he kind of went for a last second throw attempt. He often goes for throw attempts if he's about to go out, which is pretty rare. He's one of the few fighters that basically tries his best to never get to the edge. Sometimes people like going to the edge because it gives them kind of extra grip, you know? Because there is like a sort of bump in a circle, I suppose. Yeah, so he's 3-1 now. Uh, I kind of wonder if this is going to come back to haunt him later. It's hard to say. It's one of those fights that you probably should have won, but maybe this will motivate him to try harder.
So how do you win a tournament? Is that you have the best record?
You have the best record. If on the final day two people have the same record, they will give them a little time to rest if needed, and then have I can't think of what the official term is. It's like a shootout basically, where they just fight each other and winner takes all. In fact, that's what happened last tournament, and that's how Anishki won. So that was crazy.
So if they have like a head-to-head matchup and they're tied for first, they still have to do the bout.
Yep. Yeah, it gets pretty intense. I mean, you can only imagine the pressure. It literally comes down to one fight, potentially against someone that you've already won or lost to. And then next, I wanted to point out that on day 4, Ura immediately lost to Hoshoryu, who is a Yokozuna, mind you. So he is now 0-4. But I wanted to point out that he has had to fight 2 Ozekis and 2 Yokozuna, which is the 4 highest ranks at the start of the tournament. And he's only Mega Shira 2. So I kind of wonder if that will affect his mentality going into his next matches, even if those next matches are going to be a bit easier. I just feel like he's really got kind of screwed over by the schedule so far. Uh, and then lastly, Ono Sato took his first loss to Yoshino Fuji. So one thing to point out, Yoshino Fuji is 2-2, but both of his wins were against Yokozuna. He defeated both Yokozuna, which is the highest ranks, and he did this 2 days in a row. So I really wonder if after that he's gonna have a big confidence boost. And so I wonder if he'll go like on a streak and those 2 losses won't really matter much. He's also at his current best rank, which is M1. So after this tournament, he could go up to a new peak potentially. So he's definitely one to fight, one to watch. So my fight of the day for day 4 was Yoshino Fuji versus Onosato. This day was kind of hard for me to pick, but I just thought the impact of beating a second Yokozuna made it worth it. You can tell the crowd was really crazy for it when it happened and stuff. So yeah, I think I don't really know much about Yoshino Fuji. I believe he's like 20, 22 maybe. So he might be someone I might have to start watching a bit closer too. I think that's about it for the sumo segment, unless you want to add anything. Do you see yourself watching this more in the future, or maybe chiming in here or there for the highlights?
Potentially. Um, I guess it depends on how this tournament turns out. If Abby continues to do good, maybe I'll see if he climbs the ranks.
Big Obby guy, I see. I'll have to see if they have like merch with Obby's face on it. You can wear that around town.
Yeah, I'll wear it to work and I wear it to church.
Never take it off. Never
Yeah, I'll
wash
just
it.
wear it everywhere I go. I'll
Yeah.
get his face tattooed on my arm.
Yeah, so at the end of day 4, we have 4 people who are still undefeated, which is Kirishima, Oshoma, and Abi. All 3 of those are pretty mediocre ranked, I feel like, except Kirishima. He's Sekiwake, which is the 3rd highest. So, and these ranks are a bit arbitrary because they tend to fight people close to their rank at the start. So even though someone's 4-0 and a lower rank doesn't necessarily mean they're better than, say, a Yokozuna who's 3-1. but most likely are gonna probably cross paths or something at some point, so that might kind of determine who's actually the best this tournament.
How many Yokozunas are there? Just the two?
Just the two currently. Actually, last year was the first time that I know of that a Yokozuna retired mid-tournament, which is like unprecedented. So they had no Yokozuna for like a month or two, maybe more, until I think it was Hoshoryu was promoted. And then shortly after, Onosato was promoted. And Onosato, I think, has been better, but I think Hoshoryu is probably the better when he's at his peak and not injured and stuff. But I think Onosato's young enough that he could become like better. I don't know. But from what I saw online, it's not uncommon that there's only like one at a time. I think the most at one time was like six or something like that, which I can only imagine how those tournaments must have went. Like I bet almost every single one was close. But yeah, it's a very big deal. If you get to that rank, you're like expected to do well because you can't drop rank at that point. And you have to like take an oath and stuff, almost like how like the president does an oath to office and all that. So they often retire because of pressure rather than they actually want to, you know. Okay, we're gonna move on to college football. This is one of the last weeks we're gonna be covering it. So listen up.
We will touch on it here and there if there are updates, but likely there will be hardly any updates.
Yeah, mostly probably coaching and I guess new recruits or something.
All right, so in case you haven't caught on to the trend that we point out every week, there is almost always some type of allegation or some kind of court charges or something going on. Well, this week we got in college football with Marcus Freeman. So Notre Dame denied any battery allegations against head coach Marcus Freeman. Freeman was at a wrestling match supporting his son, and his son lost the match. After he lost, him, his wife, and the coach walked off, and the assistant coach allegedly walked up to him and began to exchange words. It didn't say if these were kind of, I guess, aggressive words or um, foul language or anything. But Freeman's wife and the coach were shouting at each other and eventually had to be broken up by law enforcement. Um, where the coach said that um, Marcus Freeman had caused battery. I didn't see if he said it was towards his son, if it was towards the coach. But anyways, the Mishawaka Police Department disproved the allegations in video evidence at the school.
Yeah, I don't really see Marcus Freeman as the type to like punch someone or anything like that. So I'm glad to see that it got disproved so quick because that could have been a big loss for Notre Dame.
Yeah, that could have hurt their recruiting and their transfer portal players.
Moving on, the Ole Miss kicker broke his own record again. So if you remember last week, we said that he set the record for the longest field goal in a college football playoff game. I think it was 57, right?
Yeah, I believe it was 57 yards.
So he broke it again, and now it's a 58-yard record. This is also the second longest in Fiesta Bowl history. Jake Moody on Michigan had the highest with 59 yards on New Year's Eve 2022. So, yeah, that's good. Good on him. I hope that I don't know if he's going to go to the NFL after this or what, but that's good to see.
If he doesn't go to the NFL, Ohio State needs a kicker.
I was thinking that.
So if you guys didn't watch any college football this weekend, Miami beat Ole Miss and Indiana beat Oregon by quite a bit. Um,
Quite a bit. Yeah,
like
it was a
what, 55
bloodbath.
to 22. So Miami will play the national championship in their home stadium, and Indiana will also be attending. I'm assuming Indiana will get the home jersey since they have the better record and higher seed.
It's kind of funny. The home team is not getting the home jerseys. Uh, yeah, I I feel pretty confident that Indiana's gonna win, but Miami's defensive line and offensive line looks really good. So I wonder how much pressure Indiana can create on the defensive end, and I wonder how much um, they can take on the offensive end.
By the way, if Indiana wins the national championship, it will be the first time in 29 years that college football has a first time national champion program. The last school to win their first national championship was Florida in 1996.
Which I think this is an even bigger deal because Indiana has the worst historic record of any team.
Plus, they have 0 5 stars and like 6 4 stars.
True. This is really like a this is this is one of the instances where people kind of wonder, is it the players or is it the coaches? And this is a very obvious situation of, yeah, it's both. Like the team is really committed. They clearly all care about each other, and clearly the coach has done an amazing job. In other news, the Big Ten is willing to consider a 16-team playoff in 2026 if the SEC will commit to a 24-team field 2 or 3 years later, which is like that's kind of a big jump.
I don't think they've come to an agreement yet.
Oh, I'm not surprised. 24 teams is crazy. Are they just basically going to do the top 25?
I guess. I mean, that's what the FCS does. They have a 24 team playoff. The
Oh,
first eight
really? I
teams
didn't
have
know
a
that.
bye. Well, we talked about it.
Oh, I forgot. How long is the bye though? Because I hate that the bye weeks is like a month.
I assume they. I wonder if they'll push it up because of the New York Six. Um, but I don't know. Or not New York, New Year's Six.
The SEC commissioner, Greg Sankey, has no interest in committing to the 2014 playoffs right now. And if Greg Sankey and Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti can't reach a compromise by January 23rd, the field will remain at 12. So, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens.
Something I wanted to point out that I saw is Ty Simpson is the first Alabama quarterback to not win an SEC title since John Parker Wilson in 2009.
Yeah.
So Greg McElroy, and then up until Jalen Milroe 2 years ago. Well, now 3 years ago. Would it be 2 seasons ago?
So, how long has Ty Simpson been on their team?
Uh, I think he's been on there at least 2 seasons.
Because I was gonna say,
Uh,
if he's just like a 1 year senior that transferred in, that's, I feel like that's not a huge deal. But yeah, really just shows how good
so
Alabama's been.
Ty Simpson's college career at Alabama included being a highly touted recruit in 2022, serving as a backup, then shining in his breakout 2025 season as the starter. And now he's declaring for the draft. So it's his first season starting, but he's been there. This will
Okay.
be his fourth season.
Well, that's unfortunate, but I'm sure they'll probably bounce back fairly soon.
I mean, it's not the biggest deal since he only played 1 season as the starter, because I'm assuming this means first starting quarterback that hasn't won, because he was there in 2023 with Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Moving on to some coaching updates. We only have a couple. Georgia Tech is set to hire former Memphis defensive coordinator Jason Seymour as the new defensive coordinator for their team. And Oklahoma hired Jason Witten as their new tight end coach. Did he go to Oklahoma?
Jason Witten, he went to Tennessee.
Oh, okay. So he's just getting hired to be hired. Good for him.
I mean, if he does good, he could go to potentially a higher position, like offensive coordinator or something.
I didn't even know he was coaching. Like, has he done any high school stuff or?
Jason Witten's coaching history includes 5 successful seasons as head coach at Liberty Christian School, back-to-back state champions in 2023 and 2024.
Well, would you look at that?
46-15 is his record.
But you have to wonder how good was that team before he came?
Yeah, that's true. He could have just. Well, they had to. I wonder if their coach got fired because they were bad, or if he moved on because they were so good.
Could have just retired at an old age or something.
Yeah, that's true.
But either way, that's cool.
That's a big pickup for them.
Now we're gonna move on to some players that are returning next season. So we got Brandon Ennis, said he will return to Ohio State. He says that he's got business to finish, which is good. We're losing a decent amount of receivers actually, so good to see him back. And not the greatest player, but he will definitely be beneficial. Bo Jackson also is set to return. I love Bo Jackson. He's been a great freshman running back, I thought. Dante Moore is foregoing the draft and staying at Oregon for 2026. And Trinidad Chambliss is not granted another year of eligibility, and his lawyers plan to file a lawsuit.
Which we will get into a little bit more later about red shirts, because there's been an update in college football about how the coaches feel about red shirts. So the players declaring for the draft so far, uh, Ohio State, they have three players: cornerback Davison Igbinosun, linebacker Sony Styles, and tight end Max Clare. Georgia's left tackle Monroe Freeling. Like I said earlier, Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson. But then he was offered $6.5 million to enter the portal instead. He has not accepted that offer. He's still declared for the draft. And then Oregon safety Dylan Theinman.
All right, next we got just a couple transfer portal people. We really tried to limit it this time because last episode was pretty long because of how many transfers there are. And it gets a bit redundant after a while, but nonetheless, here are the transfers. We got Auburn wide receiver Cam Coleman is committed to Texas.
Texas running back CJ Baxter committed to Kentucky.
Penn State's tight end Luke Reynolds is committed to Virginia Tech.
Nebraska's quarterback Dylan Raiola committed to Oregon.
Then we got Minnesota safety Coy Parrish committing to Oregon.
Arizona State quarterback Sam Levitt committed to LSU.
Penn State cornerback A.J. Harris has committed to Indiana.
Ohio State's wide receivers Quincy Porter and Mylan Graham committed to Notre Dame.
Did they play with each other in high school? I'm kind of wondering why they both chose to do that.
I think they were both from around the area. Quincy Porter played in New Jersey, and Mylan Graham played in New Haven, I think. Yeah, Quincy or Mylan Graham played in New Haven, Indiana.
Huh. Well, maybe they know someone on the Notre Dame staff. Maybe they just are good friends.
They, I think they have a good quarterback. So
Yeah, that too. Well, it's not like Ohio State had a Heisman candidate who's returning.
yeah, but they're kind of pushed to the back because of Jeremiah Smith and Brandon Ennis, and then now Chris Henry Jr.
I guess, but Carnell Tate just left also.
Yeah, so they're kind of the 4 and 5, so they have a chance to make a name for themselves, but they must want to get playing time.
They also maybe feel that that's their best chance at a national championship. Can't really blame them. We've had some issues. So next we got Alabama defensive lineman James Smith committing to Ohio State. So that's actually Ohio State's probably biggest pickup so far. We've had a lot of players leaving. Now we finally got some players coming in.
And Wisconsin linebacker Christian Allegro committed to Ohio State as well. He's probably the second biggest pickup. I
I'm
saw he
hoping
was a
that we can get some offensive linemen.
yeah, I saw he's a really good linebacker. He's like a veteran. I don't know if he's a senior, but they said he's a pretty good linebacker. So we'll see if he can replace Sony Styles.
And North Carolina State running back Hollywood Smothers originally committed to Alabama but has now flipped to Texas.
Arizona State running back Rayleigh Brown committed to Texas as well.
And Florida quarterback DJ Lagway has committed to Baylor.
South Carolina quarterback Aaron Nolan committed to Memphis.
Didn't he commit somewhere else not long ago?
I don't believe so. I think he just announced his commitment or that he's entering the portal.
That's probably what it was. I remember talking about him, I just don't remember if he had committed anywhere yet. And Michigan running back Justice Haynes has committed to Georgia Tech.
There are still 8,355 players remaining in the portal, and it closes in 2 days or yesterday when this comes out. So I don't know if
No,
those players will try to.
not
Oh, wait, it'll
yesterday.
be the. It closes on the 16th, so that's in 2 days or the day this comes out. So I wonder if those teams will try to re-sign with the teams that they were transferring from, or if that's even possible.
Well, if you remember, that stat we saw said like 1/3 will never get signed.
Yeah, that's crazy that some of these athletes were like, "Yeah, I want to go to a different team," and now they're not even guaranteed a roster spot.
Yeah, but I guess that's the way the sport goes. I've been kind of lenient with some of the recent changes to college football, but lately I'm kind of questioning some of the changes. It feels like the whole uh format has really changed. It's almost like the NFL now where people are making money and stuff, and recruiting is different. Playoffs are different. I didn't watch a lot of college football like growing. I mean, I did, but I didn't like know the formats or the systems behind it. So I'm not like one of those like 30-year-olds that are like, back in my day, college football was amazing. Back when Tim Tebow was great and this and that. But I have to admit, I don't know that I like the direction it's going. What about you?
Yeah, I think NIL um, really changed the sport. Players are leaving schools because they aren't getting the money they want. I did see Bo Jackson won like 1.5 million. I don't know if Ohio State paid him or if he just caved in and said, "I'll return to the team." But that's crazy that players are requesting millions of dollars when not even 5 years ago players weren't even able to make money in college.
Yeah. It's a weird line between like you bring value to the school, like you're making us billions of dollars or something, but should we pay you? It's, I don't know. It seems like there's pros and cons to both sides.
So, like I said earlier, we got a red shirt update. So a number of coaches pushed for a more expansive approach, which would be a 5 year, which would be a full 5 years of playing time in a 5 year window. However, concerns about potential litigation in the wake of some controversial eligibility rulings, Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss being the head of discussion during that time, led to the group to coming up with a 9 game compromise. So this change would expand redshirt eligibility from 4 games to 9 games, and the NCAA would have to approve this change if they decided to make it of. Uh, I guess I don't know if they petition and sign petitions and then hand it into the NCAA or what they do, but they'd have to get approval from the NCAA either way.
Personally, I think 9 games is a bit excessive. I feel like how many games are there in the season before playoffs?
That's 3/4 of the games. There's 12 games in a season.
Yeah, so this idea that in theory you could play them for 3/4 of the games, which, mind you, 1/4 of the games are probably against bad opponents that they might not even need the starters for, and then they could get eligibility again. That's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah,
It doesn't feel like this is like student focused. It feels like this is like, oh, we want to build super teams focused?
I mean, it gives players another opportunity if they're not getting playing time, and it gives them playing time if they're up big against bad teams without costing their eligibility. But at the same time, it's taking away opportunities from players. It's really more, like you said, focused on building better teams and actually focused on students achieving academic success.
Perhaps what a better approach would be is to allow so many like injury games where like you miss those. So like let's say you play like 6 games and then you're injured for the rest of the season. I feel like that could be a good exception. Um, or maybe if you are a bench player and you played a good amount of games this season, but they were only during like blowouts, you know? I think that would probably be a better way to do this, in my opinion.
I wonder if they're trying to do it so that way they see how their season's going and they could redshirt their best players for the following season.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of appeal to doing this, don't get me wrong. It just kind of begs the question, is it in the, I guess, spirit of the
The
game?
players' best interest.
Yeah, that too. But is it like in the spirit of the game? Which really, I think they stopped asking that question a long time ago.
Yeah, ask Nick Saban. A little bit of recent history about red shirts. So up until 2017, players were given 5 years to play in 4 seasons, with exceptions made only for seasons cut short for medical reasons. But then in 2017, the change was made to allow any player who participates in 4 or fewer games to maintain their redshirt year, a decision which quickly created an incentive for players to opt out mid-season to preserve eligibility. Now, I don't know. I'm assuming it's different on injury. Like if you get injured after the 4 games, you could still appeal for a redshirt year. But I'm not sure how that worked. Like with Trinidad Chambliss, he appealed, and he was obviously playing in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know. This is definitely something we'll have to keep an eye on, though.
Yeah, so if there's any changes, we'll keep you guys updated.
All right, now we're gonna move on to the NFL segment.
So NFL kickers this season have missed 100% of the kicks that missed the uprights. This currently follows a long-time trend within the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of begs the question, are the kickers like practicing?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen them practice before the games, but are they just doing it for the camera?
Yeah, it's just weird that it's 100%, you know? I don't know.
Definitely a statistic we'll have to look out for.
Yeah, I
See if it
mean,
changes next season.
I might have to look at like the history books and graph it because I feel like the graph might show the full details since it's a long time trend. You know, originally I added that as a joke to see if you would notice it when we went to say this.
I noticed that I was reading it when you put it into the Discord to talk about, and I was like, "What?"
The funny thing
I
is,
was like, "Did you misword that or something?"
I actually came across this on Instagram.
I was wondering if maybe you also put it on there, not realizing what it said.
No, I was hoping you wouldn't notice. I really should have just saved it and added it last second. But yeah. But honestly, this is a good example that you shouldn't trust like all the statistics you see. Like you need to consider what it's saying.
Well, this is an accurate statistic, though.
It is an accurate statistic, but if you don't understand the context, then this might sound like something that's way more alarming than it actually is. So anyways, now we're going to move on to some real news. We got a couple coaching updates, which I don't know about you, Nick, but I think this is one of the craziest coaching updates we've had in a couple years, probably.
Yeah, I definitely don't think I've ever seen this many teams without coaches.
Yeah, so first of all, we got the Dolphins firing head coach Mike McDaniel, which I did not see this coming. I felt like some of their issues were not really his fault.
Uh, Depends. I mean, they kept Tua in, and he was concussioned.
Well,
He's
that's
kind of a
fair.
liability.
That's fair. You do have to wonder what the thinking was behind that. But I think overall, Mike McDaniel's a pretty smart coach.
Yeah, I saw he went in as a Best Buy consultant and left as a like a gang thug because of the
What?
curly hair and the glasses and stuff. And he originally went in with like real nice hair and glasses. So he went in as a Best Buy consultant and left as a gang thug.
That is certainly a word choice.
So the Bucks fired their offensive coordinator Josh Grizzard after one season with the team.
And the Falcons named Matt Ryan their new president of football. I know we mentioned that last week, but it is official now. It's good to see him back in the NFL in some capacity. Though we both still don't know what that position does.
What does the president of football do? The president of football is a high level executive,
Executive.
high level executive role often created by NFL teams that acts as a bridge between ownership, the general manager, and the head coach, overseeing all football operations to ensure strategic alignment, accountability, and winning, with final decision making authority over football related hires like the GM and coach, reporting directly to the owner. So he's basically like, that's a bad decision, don't hire that guy, or yeah, that's a good decision, hire that guy.
So this kind of makes me wonder, are owners really the issue in the NFL, or is it really the president of football?
So the Chargers fired their offensive coordinator Greg Roman after their loss in the playoffs to the Patriots. They even scored a touchdown.
And the Eagles fire offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo. The Eagles will now search for their fifth offensive coordinator in 5 years, with two of them leaving for head coaching jobs. So that is somewhat understandable.
Mike Tomlin informed the Steelers he will be stepping down from the head coach position. Since Tomlin didn't get fired, teams will have to trade for him to become their head coach.
This really makes me wonder kind of his thinking behind this because, I mean, maybe he heard that he was going to be fired, so he chose to go out this way. It's just odd to me. I'm not super surprised that he's not on the Steelers anymore because I feel like although he has a really good like he always has a winning season, he just hasn't had that playoff success. So I feel like after so many years, you have to kind of go your separate ways. So in that sense, I understand it, but it still is kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, hopefully he can bounce back on a different team. I know Tomlin's never, well, don't want to say never, but Tomlin's usually had winning seasons.
Well, I don't think he has had a losing season, right?
I don't know for sure. That's why I just said I
Because
don't want to say
didn't we
always.
say last week or something that he has the record for most like
He has
consecutive
a
winning
record, but
seasons
I don't
from the
know if
start?
could have been. Has Mike Tomlin had a losing season? Yeah, he's never had a losing season. I
He
thought that
he's
was,
like
but I didn't
the
want to say it and be wrong.
no, I get it. He's like the Hawks of NFL. They're always mid.
Always mid.
And so with all of these head coaching firings and everything, 1/4 of the NFL is searching for a new head coach. That's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, I wonder if all these head coaches are going to find jobs or if some are going to move down to college. I could see Tomlin possibly going down to college, but I don't know if he will. I don't think he can actually since he didn't get fired.
Yeah,
So I guess we'll see.
I don't really know the logistics behind trading coaches. Like I don't know what like how much he goes for.
Yeah, I never heard of trading a coach before.
I mean, I don't think it's an option in Madden. Now we're gonna move on to some other NFL news, non-coaching related. The Carolina Panthers plan to pick up fifth-year option Bryce Young. No surprise there. He's been playing pretty well.
Yeah, I think Bryce Young could continue his success in the next season. Hopefully, the Panthers can improve their record next season. We don't have any more bad NFC teams in the playoffs. Not that they were bad, they just had a bad record. They almost beat the Rams.
I was watching that game. I watched, I think, a little bit of every playoff game, if not all of it. And I really thought their one wide receiver was looking really good.
Tate Roland McMillan.
I think so. He had like black face paint, kinda. Does that sound like him?
I don't know. I didn't watch that game.
Oh, I just assumed he always did it.
Seattle records the highest team point differential in franchise history at plus 191. Really speaks for Seattle's offense this year. Well, and their defense because they had a bunch of defensive touchdowns.
True. I wonder what the highest point differential is in NFL history. 315 by the 2007 Patriots. Wow. That's crazy.
So they're not even 100 away. They're still 121, 22 away.
But I think that somewhat makes sense because sometimes our offense didn't score a ton, but our defense made it where we win, even though we only scored like 20 or less, you know?
Yeah.
Was that 2007 Patriots team when Tom had Randy Moss and they were just like chucking it deep every play almost?
Yeah, I believe Randy Moss was on that team.
Yeah, that was a crazy year. And Travis Kelce becomes the first NFL player to win the Walter Payton Man of the Year 3 times. At what point is he just try-harding? No, I'm kidding. Good for him. That's great.
At least he's getting side quests done. Colston Loveland on the Bears became the first rookie tight end since 1980 with 100 plus yards in a playoff game.
In other news with the Bears game, on the Packers side of things, Matthew Golden, who is a rookie, gets his first NFL career touchdown against the Bears in the playoffs. It was also a crazy touchdown. He had like multiple broken tackles, a spin move, jukes. So, I mean, if you're gonna get a first career touchdown, that's probably the way to do it.
But they still lost, so
Yeah, they really sold.
they sold his game to remember. So speaking of the Packers, they actually lost to the Bears. If you did not watch, the Bears had an 18-point comeback, which is the largest against the Packers in Bears history. The Packers sold, like Christian said. Their kicker missed two field goals and an extra point, and the wide receivers dropped multiple passes.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching that game. I was laughing at one point because of how bad the Bears were doing. That and my friend was a Bears fan next to me, so I kind of was rubbing it in on purpose. But man, I don't think I've ever seen a team sell as much as the Packers did that night.
Yeah, it was actually their first playoff win in 15 years.
Yeah, and it was the first ever playoff win against the Packers. But weirdly, they've only ever played 3 times total. But I guess that's because when the Bears are bad, the Packers are good, so maybe they don't meet in the playoffs. Like, still, I figured they would meet more than 3 times total with how old of teams they are. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, what is that? Almost 100 years, and they've only met three times.
This also was the Bears' largest playoff comeback in franchise history.
And the Packers' largest playoff blown lead in franchise history.
Yeah, well, we got a lot of history in this game. I will say, I think the entire city of Chicago was very happy by this, from what I heard.
And maybe even some northeastern Indiana.
As much as I kind of hate that this happened because I predicted that the Packers would win, good for the Bears.
Yeah, congratulations, Bears and Packers, on achieving history.
Fun fact about this postseason. This has been the most lead changes in NFL postseason history. And this record happened in only the first 4 games. In those games, there was 12 plus lead changes. So, yeah, definitely a pretty fun playoffs so far, although some games have been really boring, like the Texans game for 3.5 quarters and the Patriots game for the entire game.
Speaking of the Texans game, CJ Stroud had five fumbles, which is a career high for him, and one pick.
Yet they still won that game. In fact, 2 of the fumbles were recovered by the Steelers.
Yeah, so congratulations to CJ Stroud on still getting the win, even though uh, five fumbles is insane.
Yeah, I didn't watch this game, but I heard from my friend that did that it wasn't even like a bad snaps or him getting like sacked. It just kind of, I guess he just kind of fumbled from what I heard, which is crazy that that happened 5 times.
Yeah, so with that loss for the Steelers, That means they haven't won a playoff game since 2016, which they lost to the Patriots in the AFC Championship. They've lost their last five playoff games by double digits. And they have the fourth longest playoff losing streak, which is 7 games in NFL history. Mike Tomlin is also tied for the longest playoff losing streak by a head coach in NFL history. The Steelers also have the most regular season wins, which is 90 wins, and a 9 year span without a playoff win in NFL history.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps with those stats in mind, it's not as surprising that he stepped down.
Yep. The Steelers are historically trash over the last 9 seasons. Historically mid and trash in the playoffs.
And next, we got a fun stat. The Patriots won their first playoff game since 2019. So good for them, even though I'm pretty sure they have the third lowest strength of schedule in NFL history this season. So,
Yeah, so good job, Patriots. Good luck against the Texans.
yeah, if they couldn't score against the Chargers very much, I think they're going to struggle against the Texans defense.
Since 2000, only four pre playoff Super Bowl favorites have won the Super Bowl: the 2003, 2004, and 2016 Patriots, and the 2013 Seahawks.
Do you think this team feels similar to the 2013 Seahawks? I get some of the vibes from the fan base. Like it feels like we're finally being revitalized. We have our confidence up. Although maybe some people are taking it a bit too far, saying that like, yeah, it's locked and this and that. But I feel like having a defense this good very much reminds me of the 2013 Seahawks. The offense, though, is a little less explosive in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like they rely too much on JSN in this offense when they pass. And then,
Well, don't forget about Kenneth Walker also.
well, when they pass, they rely on.
Well, yeah.
But besides that, I mean, Sam Darnold has his mistakes, but I could see them winning the Super Bowl. But it all depends on how the offense is. We already know the defense is a top two defense, if not the best defense right now.
Yeah, honestly, on the NFC side of things, the only team that really scares me is like the Rams and the 49ers. Because the Rams have the best offense in the league, and the 49ers have the second best offense, and they're also like, always kind of scary. They seem to beat us sometimes. Sometimes we beat them.
Speaking of the Rams, Sean McVay will have coached in 15 playoff games after they play the Bears, and he has not played the same team twice. If the Rams beat the Bears, he will play the Seahawks or the 49ers, which he has already played. So his streak will technically come to an end, even though it's not really a streak.
It just kind of showed the diversity of the playoffs in the last couple years, though, I would say.
I find it intriguing that he hasn't played the same team twice, but he's played in 15 games.
Well, some of them were the Super Bowl, so
Yeah, that's true. But you think of how the NFC has been the past 3 or 4 seasons. It's been the
how many Super
49ers.
Bowls has he been to?
I
Two?
know. I don't know if he was in the 2019 Super Bowl. 2019 Rams head coach Sean McVay. So he's been to two Super Bowls.
So that means 13 NFC teams he's played in the playoffs, right?
Yep,
How many teams are in the NFC?
16. So it'd be 15 because you can't count the Rams.
Wow, I maybe that just talks about how good the NFC is. Do you think the AFC is the weaker conference?
Uh, I think the NFC just has so much diversity that it could be any given season that one team's good or one team makes the playoffs. The AFC, it's almost always the Bills in the playoffs, almost always the Chiefs, although not this year. It's been almost always the Steelers, even though they get first rounded. It's been the Texans the past couple seasons. So really, they just have a consistent playoff. Whereas the NFC, the Bears are new this year. Who else? The Panthers are new this year. The Seahawks are new. I want to
The
say.
Bucks are sort of in and out.
Yeah, the Bucks are in and out. The Saints are in and out. The Falcons are in and out, and that's all because they're in the same
Yeah.
mid conference.
Yeah, that's fair. So that's a it's kind of crazy though that he's played all but one NFC team and not the same one twice. So the next round of the playoffs, we have the 49ers versus the Seahawks, Rams versus the Bears, the Bills versus the Broncos, and the Texans versus the Patriots.
Which the Seahawks, 49ers, Broncos, Bills is on Saturday, and the Bears, Rams, Patriots, Texans is on Sunday.
Looking forward to watching the Seahawks play.
Hopefully, we can take down the 49ers at home and not lose again this time. The NFC West is the fourth division with three teams in the divisional round in the same season. The most recent team was the NFC East in 2021.
And speaking of the NFC West, they made history as the first division to ever have three teams finish among the top two in uh, DVOA for either offense or defense. So we have Seattle with the number one defense, Rams with the number one offense, and 49ers with the number two offense.
Speaking of the Rams, Matt Stafford is the only QB left in the playoffs that has won a Super Bowl. So the other seven quarterbacks have not been to or won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and
Actually, I lied. Brock Purdy has been to the Super Bowl a couple of times, but he never won.
never won. Yeah. Well, seems likely then that we will get maybe a new quarterback winning the Super Bowl. All right, before we move on to our next segment, we just wanted to talk about our bracket predictions from last week. So, Nick said that the Texans, Bills, Patriots, Rams, 49ers, and Bears would win. So he went 6 for 6 with his predictions. He even correctly predicted that the Bills would win by exactly 3 points. Me, on the other hand, I went 4 for 6. The only teams I got wrong was I said that the Jaguars would beat the Bills and Green Bay would beat the Bears. But I want to note that both of those games were pretty close games. So if any team was going to, or I guess if any outcome was going to go the other way, it was probably those two games. Also, looking back on it, I didn't really know anything about the Jaguars, so I don't know why I voted against Josh Allen.
Yeah, the Bills are kind of a Josh Allen led team this season.
But either way, I thought we both did rather good.
Yeah, so I I don't think you had the Jags or the Packers moving on, so I
No, I
think your
didn't.
bracket's still good.
Yes, I guess in that sense, my bracket is still good. I guess while we're at it, why don't we talk about our next predictions? I think the Seahawks beat the Niners. I think Rams beat the Bears. I think the Broncos beat the Bills, and the Texans beat the Patriots.
I think I had the Patriots winning the Texans. So
Really? Did you? I think you
I
did.
think I think I
I'm just
had the
wondering why.
Patriots and Broncos and the Rams and the Seahawks.
You
So
you trust the Patriots that much despite not showing anything this season?
it's so hard. I mean, the Patriots haven't showed much, but also CJ Stroud had five fumbles.
Yeah, but CJ's not the type of guy to let one bad game stop him the next, I feel like.
I don't know. They haven't gotten past the divisional round yet. So I guess we'll see.
I also
I
feel like they're not at their best. Like, isn't Tank Dell still hurt?
I think so.
And I'm sure their O-line probably isn't great.
I could see the Patriots winning for the mere reason that they're at home. I think if they were in Texas, they would
That's
lose.
a fair point.
So I'll keep my predictions the same: Broncos, Patriots, Rams, and Seahawks.
All right, so that means one of us will be wrong. Or at least one of us will be wrong. Now we're gonna move on to the NBA. So this seems weird to say, but the first trade of this season was actually Trae Young. He got traded to the Wizards. And what's funny is he got traded the same day we were recording last episode, which is when we reported that he had requested that trade.
Literally, not even 5 minutes after we got done recording.
Yeah, we both saw it. So Atlanta got CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert after a bunch of trade talk, and the Wizards got Trae Young. Do you think that's a good trade?
For the Hawks, yes. Or no, because they really lost out. If you think about it, the Hawks lost out on Luca originally, and now they're basically giving Luca away for C.J. McCollum and Corey Crispert.
That's a fair point.
Although Luca isn't really looking very good defensively this season
Yeah.
or offensively, he had 7 turnovers the other night.
We questioned why this was Trae Young's ideal trade spot, but after talking to one of my friends, he pointed out that the Wizards have a pretty young team. So this might be a sense of like him wanting to be a leader. So I guess in that way, I kind of understand why you might want to go there.
So after a bunch of trade talk, Giannis said he is committed to being with the Bucks his whole career. I know before he had talked about wanting to leave the team, and now that people have been talking about him going to the Warriors, talking about him going to the Thunder, he came out and said, "I want to stay with the Bucks unless they don't want me."
You know, I think I saw today that the Bucks had like their largest deficit loss in a long time, maybe even in franchise history. And I believe the fans were booing Giannis at the free throw line and stuff, and really the team as a whole. So I kind of wonder if he's really going to stay there the his whole career. And it's not necessarily um, that he doesn't want to be there, but maybe other people won't want him there. In other news, LeBron will be ineligible for the NBA awards if he misses one more game.
Yeah, so his All NBA streak is on the line if he misses one more game. The league announced that LeBron will wear a jersey patch celebrating his record setting 23rd NBA season for the rest of the regular season, which I've seen this patch. It's nice that the league is doing this for him because nobody's ever played 23 seasons before. But it makes you wonder if this is his final season since they're giving him that patch. Or it makes you wonder because he also said, or I believe he said something about wanting a retirement tour.
Is he the only player with 23 seasons?
Yeah, he's the only player to ever play 23 seasons.
What's the next highest? Because if it's 22, then I could kind of understand, even if he doesn't retire.
Vince Carter was 22 seasons.
Okay, so that actually might be why. It might not be that he's going to retire necessarily. But yeah, it's kind of nice that they're honoring Michael Jordan like that, giving his number to him. I know, it was LeBron's number 2 at one point. Yeah, so also, the Thunder have officially finally beat the Spurs. After losing to them 3 times, they finally beat them.
Congratulations.
And it was by a decent amount. I think it was about 20 points or maybe 30 even.
Yeah, they beat him by quite a bit. I did see that.
But the Thunder are kind of on pace to not beat the not scoring, the NBA record for the best record in a season.
Yeah. Well, they still only have 7 losses.
Yeah, it's still possible, but I
I
just feel like,
doubt they do it.
yeah, and they've had such a rough stretch lately. Like they've been losing what seems like every other game, or almost every other game.
I think they could still have a 65 plus win season, though.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of the Spurs, Wemby could be eligible for a six man of the year award if he keeps playing off the bench because he's kind of working his way back into the rotation after injury. They're kind of playing it safe. You don't want to injure a franchise player like that, so I get it. And they're winning games
Well, the
for the
past two
most part.
games he's been starting, so he might
Oh,
not
has he?
get. Yeah, the past 2 games he started.
Okay, so I guess that might just be old news then. But if for some reason he goes back to the bench, it's kind of crazy to think he could be six man of the year.
Up next, Denny Advia went from 53rd to 13th in points per game this season. We talked about him earlier. I believe it was the first or second podcast. We talked about him. He was climbing the ladders for most improved because I think he had a 10 points per game most improved at the time that we did that. Like he improved 10 more points than last season. So that's pretty cool that he climbed from 53rd to 13th in points per game.
Yeah, for sure. I'd never heard of him until this year, so.
Yeah, I saw he's actually averaging more than LeBron.
And we talked about this last week. Rick Carlisle officially gets his 1000th win as a head coach. We talked about how he was sitting at 999 for a while and just couldn't get over that hump, but he officially does it. He now, well, not now, but he's still the 11th all-time uh, in wins as a head coach. And for reference, number one is at 1,390 wins. That is Greg Popovich. So if he continues to coach for a while, I guess in theory, could break the record.
Yeah, so hopefully next year when Tyrese Halliburton's back, and assuming he stays with the Pacers, he should be able to pass number 10, which is only 40 games ahead of him.
Yeah, the whole like top eight list is pretty close together.
Cody Williams on the Jazz set the NBA record for the lowest plus minus in a game at negative 60.
That's something that I would do in 2K when I just shoot half court threes. For those of you that don't know, plus or minus is basically the idea that when this player is on the court, your team is scoring this amount of points as a result.
Hmm.
So this means that when he's on the court, their team is scoring negative 60 points.
So when he was on the court, they got outscored by 60 points. So congratulations, Cody Williams.
I don't know if that's exactly a congratulations. Apparently the highest plus minus in an NBA game is 57.
I was just looking that up.
I swear I heard that Steven Adams had 90. I've said that I think multiple times on the podcast. Maybe that was like in the moment, but then it ended lower. I don't know. Maybe I just fell to false news.
Maybe it was for the series.
Oh, so like adding the total.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's probably possible. In other news, Anthony Edwards becomes the third youngest player to score 10,000 points in their career behind KD and LeBron, which he didn't uh join the NBA as young as them, right? Like I think KD was 19, I want to say. I don't actually know how old Anthony was when he joined the league.
He was 19 when he was drafted.
No, okay. What about KD?
He was 19 as well.
Oh, well, either way, it's impressive. So good for him.
LaMelo Ball became the fastest player to score 800 threes to start his career. He did it in 260 games. For reference, Stephen Curry did it in 305 games.
But I don't think Steph was a starter.
That's true. LaMelo Ball was a day one starter.
Yeah. And he was injured, so in some sense he probably developed a better three before he could get more games, you know. But either way, it's still impressive. Speaking of the Hornets, actually, they're retiring Del Curry's number 30 jersey on March 19th. He won the 1994 Sixth Man of the Year and ranks second in points in franchise history. He spent 10 of his 16 NBA seasons in Charlotte from 1988 to 98 and is currently serving as a team ambassador. Good for him, you know?
Yeah, I never really knew who he was until they announced, oh, Steph Curry's father.
Yeah,
That's all I ever knew him as. I didn't know he was that good of an NBA player in Charlotte.
well, like it sounds like he was one of those kind of bench players that just stuck on the team for a long time. And also, the Hornets have a bad record of like getting rid of players all the time and playing bad. So him being like second in all-time points, and it's kind of a young team, that kind of makes sense to me, I suppose.
Yeah, and the Hornets are notorious for getting rid of Kobe, so I mean they could run an NBA championship.
I don't even know if Kobe could have brought them that. Um, but yeah, he's actually Him and Steph are the second highest scoring father-son duo in the NBA. Third is Kobe and his dad. Do you know who first is?
Uh, Bull.
No, that's a
LeBron and
horrible
his
guess.
son.
Yeah, it's LeBron and his son, but
I
I'm
was
not gonna
just
say
messing.
who. I'm not gonna say who, but one of those has put in more effort than the other.
Not gonna say who, but they single-handedly carried that team.
Yep.
They are in first just by one of them.
Yeah, that's true.
Moving on to injuries, Anthony Davis is expected to miss the next 6 weeks for his hand injury, then will be reevaluated. The Mavericks are entertaining trades for Davis by interested teams, so I guess we'll see if he'll be the next trade in the NBA. They did say that they are not 100% willing to force a trade. They're willing to keep him past the deadline if they have to.
Yeah, one of the talks is the Warriors, but apparently the Warriors are not willing to give up certain players. The Wizards, Trae Young is going to be reevaluated with his sprained right MCL during the All-Star break. I think this is mostly because he came into this new team already injured, so that's just kind of one of the things every NBA team has to do. All right, now we're going to move on to our last section, the miscellaneous section. So starting with number one Penn State wrestling team broke the NCAA record for most consecutive wins with 78 straight wins. They had a 46-0 victory over number 16 Rutgers. Penn State hasn't lost since February 2nd, 2020. So that 46-0, does that mean 46 players? I don't know how wrestling scoring works.
So, scoring rewards offensive moves like takedowns, which is 2 to 3 points, reversals are 2 points, and near falls are 2 to 3 points for holding an opponent's shoulder to the mat. Uh, Escapes are 1 point, and then penalty points for infractions, like things you're not allowed to do.
Okay, so it's not
And
46
then
people. That
major
makes
team
sense.
points are 6 for a fall, 5 for a tech, 4 for any major decision.
Wait, so that means no one made like a single mistake?
I wonder if they deduct points depending on what you do.
That's crazy though. They kind of have a dynasty on wrestling, it seems.
Well, they got to be good at one sport, I guess, and it wasn't football. Maybe next year. They got all of Iowa State's team.
Scary.
So moving on to a different miscellaneous sport that we haven't talked about yet, but we probably will be talking about as football will be moving out of season. So the Diamondbacks are acquiring 8-time All-Star Nolan Arenado from the Cardinals.
Well, we have technically talked about baseball, but yeah, you're right. We've talked about
Oh yeah,
Shohei a
that's
couple
true.
times.
But we will be moving into more baseball as spring training comes up. Which spring training starts next month, towards the end of the month, February 20th.
Yeah, that'll be fun. NYU women's basketball team is on a 73-game win streak and haven't lost since March 2023. They are tied for the fourth longest win streak in NCAA women's basketball history at all levels.
They know ball. They know how to shoot that rock. Interestingly enough, they're doing that well. I wonder why the good players haven't transferred. Or maybe they're just that good at developing players that they transfer out and they get better players again. Congratulations.
Well, why would you want to transfer from a good
I
team?
mean, we saw it from James Madison. They were 13-0, well 13-1 because they lost to Oregon, and basically their whole team transferred out.
I guess that's a little different though because like JMU is good, but they're not the top of like their, well, I guess they kind of are the top of their league, I guess. I don't know. There is a slight difference though, I feel like.
Staying on the topic of basketball, Missouri men's basketball team went 2-0 in the SEC for the first time in program history, just to lose to Ole Miss the next game.
And staying on the topic of basketball yet again, uh, number two Michigan has never lost a home game to an unranked team until now. They are 41-1 after Wisconsin upset them. Uh, so that's a crazy upset.
I did see Wisconsin won their next game against Minnesota on a buzzer beater. It was tied and it was supposed to go to overtime, but they ended up making their buzzer beater. Carrollton State men's basketball player Dior Johnson is the first player to ever lead the country in scoring while coming off the bench. He's averaging 23.8 points per game on 56.9% from the field and 25.6 minutes per game. So congratulations to him. I mean, that's pretty impressive to come off the bench averaging 23.8 in college.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes you wonder why he isn't a starter if he's leading the country in scoring. It's not even a bad shooting percentage either.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably get maybe the starting job soon, I would think. But at the same time, if you are a bench player and playing other bench players, you might have a better chance at getting high points. So I don't know. Lastly, number two Iowa State men's basketball lost to Kansas, which is unranked, 30, 63 to 84. I think this number two is just unlucky, some sort of curse.
I mean, Kansas is usually a good basketball team. I don't know what the record is this season.
Well, guys, that will about do it. Thank you guys so much for listening. I know that some of our topics today, like sumo, might be a little out of the ordinary, but I hope that you kind of go into it with an open mind like Nick did. You might just find yourself your next favorite sport. With that being said, we are going to cover the tournament next week, and yeah, that's about it. You got anything?
So, how long is the tournament? Is it next Tuesday or is it? It's 15 days.
Well, it's
What?
15 days,
So it'd be the
and
26th.
it ends on yep, it ends on the 26th, which is perfect because we're basically gonna have 5 days of the tournament before the final, leading up to the final, and so then next time we record on that Wednesday, we will have the ending of it with 5 days of you know stuff going into it. So we should have some sort of we could have a tiebreaker, we could have a close race at the end. Who knows?
Everybody will have to keep joining in on the podcast to see if a B ends up winning. Go a B.
Yep. Well, that'll about do it. We will see you guys next week.